You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Now get the guns, the drugs, to my generation will take the fall. The saints, across the nation, and it's a sex, the gods, the fakes, the frauds, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Welcome to episode 200 of Reliving the War. 4 years of the Monday Night War covered. We have come a long way and we aren't done yet. It's September 6th, 1999. Raw takes place in Hartford, Connecticut, while Nitro is coming from Miami, Florida. After this episode, I'll have covered 200 Monday Night War head-to-heads, plus the unopposed shows and most pay-per-views. I still plan on covering all those pay-per-views I missed, so don't worry, I'm on it. I've also covered Thunder episodes. We just began looking at Smackdown, and speaking of which, the next episode of Smackdown will get covered on the channel along with Fall Brawl 99. Fall Brawl goes live on Sunday as usual, while Smackdown goes live on Tuesday. So if you enjoy Reliving the War and these kind of videos, then you'll have plenty to watch this week. Stay tuned until the very end of this video for a special look at past episodes of Raw and Nitro. And in case you don't stick around to get the final message, I just want to say thank you for continuing to watch this series. It's a lot of work every week, but I'm motivated by your investment. It would be a lot easier to put together other videos that get more traction than Reliving the War, especially as we're now in 1999. But it's you guys who keep this show going, and for that I say thank you. It's been a hell of a ride so far. Anyway, enough of all that. If you've got your supplies ready, soldier, let's get started with our number one of Monday Nitro. It's quite apropos that we begin year 5 of the Monday Night War with a Bret Hart promo. The Hitman's come back to WCW and His Excellency looks to be in good spirits. The commentators are shocked to see him and they're putting this over as a big surprise. And Bret begins by saying he's glad to be here tonight. He's been sitting at home for way too long. The Hitman's done a lot of thinking recently and he decided he wants to come back to pro wrestling. However, there's a pretty big caveat. Something's eluded Bret during his tenure with WCW, and it's not the World Heavyweight belt. It's something that he wants based on pride and principle. Bret wants the booking committee to seriously consider this. He wants fans to get behind his one wish. Bret Hart wants to fight Hulk Hogan. It doesn't need to be a championship match, though it would be pretty sweet if it was. And Hart makes it clear that he won't consider coming back full time until he gets the one match he's been trying to get ever since he came to WCW. In reality, Bret and Hulk were already having house show matches, and every time they fought, there was always interference. Plans were in place for a Hogan vs. Bret match in '99 on TV, but you guessed it, it didn't happen. Still, great to see the Hitman back on Nitro, and yes, he's now back as a full-time performer. WCW are searching for a new Nitro girl via a fan voting competition, and the company are also giving away $1 million next week on Nitro. Yes, both Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon wanted to give away ridiculous amounts of money when their TV ratings got low, but Bischoff doesn't get a chance to give away Turner's money because he gets fired before he can do so. The $1 million giveaway was promoted heavily throughout this episode of Nitro, but seeing as Bischoff already wasted stupid money on things that didn't pop a rating, such as Master P and Kiss, the head honchos at Time Warner got fed up and Eric was told to go home. More on this next week. The in-ring action begins with Lodi versus Evan Karagias, and yes, the match bookings on this episode are nearly as bad as last week. WCW's a complete mess right now, and I think they're just drawing names out of a hat. Vampiro and the ICP showed up during this match, and Vampiro told Karagias that he owes him one. This put Evan off his game and Lodi won the match. Also, this fan got pulled out of the audience after Lenny Lane tried to take his sign away, but it's a plant. It's the guy from the Lodi themed Nitro party a few weeks ago. Hulk Hogan comes out for an interview and he doesn't mention Bret Hart at all. He says he had no idea Macho Man was attending Nitro last week and he has no idea why he was sitting in his dressing room. He promised he wouldn't stab Sting in the back. He calls Lex Luger a scam artist. And as for the photo, Hulk admits that he drives a Hummer, but not the one that drove into the limousine. It's really that simple. To prove he's a jam-up guy, Hogan's going to team up with Sting and Goldberg tonight to take on DDP, Sid and Rick Steiner inside a steel cage. So that's going to be our Nitro main event. Barry Horowitz versus Al Green, ladies and gents. Not only did Sid interfere in the match, thank God, but this dude right here started playing piano during the beatdown while descending down from the rafters. It's like a weird acid trip. We are going to see more of this guy in the weeks to come. After the match, Sid says Chris Benoit's going to suffer this week at Fall Brawl. Sid's on a mission to have a better win record than Hogan, Sting and that no good Bill Goldberg. And at the pay-per-view, Sid's going to make an example out of the crippler. Vincent busts into the West Texas Rednecks dressing room with bright lights and a lot of smoke in the background. The entrance makes Barry Windham say, "What in the wide world of sports is this?" Vincent says he's the biggest redneck of them all. He loves that Rap Is Crop song, and not only does he want the boys to give him a new tape for his rental car, he also wants to join the faction. Kurt Hennig says he'll give Curly Bill here a chance tonight on Nitro. So that's it, the NWO is now really, officially 100% ended. Bobby Duncombe Jr. is no longer part of WCW, by the way. He needed surgery for a rotator cuff injury, and Bobby would be found dead 4 months later from an accidental overdose. He was 34 years old. Harlem Heat get interviewed in the ring, and Booker was so excited that he knocked the microphone out of Mean Gene's hand. Stevie Ray says he and his brother are going to take care of a few fruit booties at Fall Brawl when they win their tag team titles back. Harlem Heat will be 9-time champions, which, you know, means they've lost the belts 8 times. But anyway, Booker also says he and his brother are like Nitrous Oxide, and I feel like I'm on Nitrous Oxide when I watch Nitro every week. Our number 1 ends with Sting and Lex Luger busting into Hulk Hogan's dressing room to get some answers. Hogan's in there with Bret Hart, so it looks like there's no hard feelings between the Hulkster and the Hitman. Hogan says he'll give Sting 5 minutes to answer all his questions, but when we come back from commercial break, the Stinger's been knocked out cold. Hogan blames it on Lex blames it on Hogan while saying Bret's a part of this too. Someone's telling lies here, and by God, we need answers. Before we check out the first match on Raw, here's a look at what happened on this week's episode of Smackdown.
Bring your sorry self down here now! If you ever disrespect me like that again, I'll rip your throat out and choke you with your own tongue.
Tonight, Triple H, you're gonna take on that bald-headed SOB. What? And that's the bottom line. There he is! Oh my God! There's that bald-headed SOB! And it really doesn't matter because that's the end result right there.
I went to a lot of trouble, Al. I'm gonna make sure I do the right thing here. 100% grade A pepper. No. What's the matter, Al? You're gonna eat every damn bite of the little son of a bitch. Yeah, tastes like chicken.
Listen to me. I need to do this by myself tonight. This Kane's little buddy crap, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being the weak link, and I'm sick of letting you down, man.
The weaker he becomes, the weaker you become. And the weaker you become, the more vulnerable you become.
Jericho's there. Shamrock. Wait a minute. That was forward.
Come on, get a
Jericho's
shot.
nuts.
Get a shot of him. There you go. Come on.
Tremendous tornado. Wait a minute. What's this? King. Oh, man.
Thou shalt not mess with the Dudleys.
Mankind and The Rock are not going to come out here and face each other one-on-one again. They are going to team up and face Triple H and you.
Oh! And here it is! Oh my gosh! And Mankind right on the table! Oh, Triple H! He got him!
Raw begins with a tag team match, the Rock and Saw Connection versus X-Pac and Kane. On Nitro, we have a number 1 contendership battle royal. Rock says Kane isn't all that impressive just because the big red R word that I can't say on YouTube. Just because the big red machine can speak, he's now doing jumping jacks and he thinks he's all great.
My name is Kane, and I am a Rudy Poo candy ass.
Mick Foley sends well wishes to Brian Hildebrand, who we know is WCW referee Mark Curtis. Brian was in hospital due to his cancer spreading, and Mick says Brian's friends and the World Wrestling Federation are all thinking about him. Kane makes his entrance, but X-Pac's nowhere to be found. Remember, X-Pac told Kane not to get involved in his match on Smackdown no matter what, and Kane didn't listen. The Big Red Machine gets a new partner though. Triple H makes his way down to the ring and he stands in Kane's corner. And yeah, I think this is a good replacement. I mean, he is the WWF Champion. Kane isn't sure what to make of this, but the match gets underway with The Rock going to work on the Devil's favourite demon. Moments later, Chyna walks down holding a sledgehammer and Kane refuses to tag in Triple H. That big red ingrate doesn't want any help from the game. So Triple H grabs his sledgehammer when Kane goes to chokeslam Rocky and Kane takes a shot across the back. You know what? He absolutely deserved it. Rock wins with a rock bottom followed by the people's elbow, and after the tag champs head back up the ramp, Triple H decides to attack his partner. Again, he totally deserved it. The Undertaker and Big Show walk down to the ring, Triple H makes his escape, and look at the Undertaker wearing eyeliner and a bandana like some sort of fabulous biker Michael liker. It's like the Phenom's going through a midlife crisis. Anyway, it looks like Kane has no mates and the only person who cares about him is his big brother. This storyline will develop on SmackDown, so make sure you check out the channel next week. Right, look at this. A battle royal for a shot at the WCW title next week on Nitro. First 4 thrown over the top are eliminated. The next 6 eliminated will wrestle each other tonight in singles matches based on when they got eliminated. And the final 2 men are going to have a match to determine the number 1 contender. If you're a lower mid-card guy, then you might as well get yourself eliminated right away so you can sit in catering. Why singles matches have to come out of this battle royal or anyone's guess, and it means we're going to see a ton of random matchups again this week on Nitro. You know, why not just have a battle royal for the number 1 contendership without all this other shit going on? I'll tell you why. It's to pad out Nitro because the goons running WCW are creatively bankrupt. The match features the First Family, the Revolution, and the West Texas Rednecks along with new member Curly Bill, but without Kurt Hennig. That means there's not enough men for the stipulation to make sense, and instead it's the first 3 men eliminated who won't get featured in matches later on. These jabronis at WCW can't even count, let alone book matches. The first 3 eliminated were complete tit Brian Knobbs, Curly Bill, and the Barbarian. Shane Douglas throws out Kendall Windham, but Shane gets eliminated seconds later. Barry Windham then gets eliminated, followed by Lightning Foot Jerry Lynn with an F. A punch to the chest knocked Flynn out somehow. Hugh Morris then throws Saturn out, but Malenko and Benoit team up to eliminate Mr. Morris. So that means Revolution teammates Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko face each other later tonight for a shot at the world belt. The other singles matches produced from this battle royal are Kendall Windham vs Shane Douglas, Barry Windham vs Jerry Flynn, and Perry Saturn vs Hugh Morris. Whoop-de-doo. It's almost like WCW are inviting people to switch the channel at this point because none of these matches sound very appealing. Jeff Jarrett vs Jacqueline takes place next on Raw, plus we've got Edge and Christian vs the Acolytes. On Nitro, Johnny Swinger takes on Prince Iaukea. We've got to the point where we want to see interference in WCW. I wanted Sid to come out real bad and wreck these two, but it didn't happen. Instead, Vampiro and the ICP came out to cost Johnny Swinger the match, and you know what that means. Prince Iaukea owes Vampiro one. It's like Vampiro's now a debt collector and his muscle consists of 2 literal clowns. The Prince looks terrified of Vampiro and the ICP, and his Hawaii Voltage tag partner didn't even come out to save him. So Double J wanted to send a message to Chyna by having this match against Jackie on Raw, and Jarrett did not go easy on his opponent at all. He kicked her when she was down, Jackie got choked out on the ropes. There was a little hope when Jackie got a few kicks in, but Double J almost took her head off with a clothesline, and Jackie then got put in the figure 4. After winning the match via submission, Jarrett decided to break a guitar over his opponent's head. So yeah, the message was sent loud and clear. Edge and Christian then teamed up to take on the Acolytes, though both teams had other things on their mind, mainly the WWF's newest tag team, the Dudley Boys. Fortunately, Bubba Ray and Devon didn't interfere in this one like they did on SmackDown, and keep in mind, this match was for a shot at the Tag Team Championships. Edge and Christian pretty much wrecked the Acolytes here. It was one of their most dominant performances on Raw so far, and I was kinda surprised that the finish was clean. It ends with Edge and Farouk brawling on the outside, but Christian then gives his teammate a hand. Bradshaw then powerbombs Christian, but Edge delivers a missile dropkick when JBL tries a second powerbomb. The commentators called the victory an upset, but the winners seem confident when they send a message The Rock and Mankind backstage. They get interrupted by the Dudley Boys attacking the Acolytes though, so not a great night for Bradshaw and Farouk at all. Next on Raw, we've got The Big Show vs Val Venis. On Nitro, Steve Regal takes on Buff Bagwell. Bagwell scheduled to face Berlyn at Fall Brawl this week, and Buff came face to face with the evil Bratwurst earlier in the evening. Buff made fun of his upcoming opponent not having any merchandise to sell, while Alex spoke completely in German in a condescending tone. Bagwell pretended like he understood what Berlyn just said when he tried to approach him for a fight, but security stepped in to save Buff from getting his ass kicked. Bagwell then had a decent enough TV match against Steve Regal. He surprised his lordship in the early going, and Dave Taylor had to comfort Regal. Taylor also used his flag to do a little damage, but Bagwell more or less no-sold it, and Buff went straight back on offense. Taylor decided to use his flag again, only this time the plan backfired. Buff Daddy wins after delivering a blockbuster, and after the bout, Buff says Berlyn tried to step on his toes earlier on, and that means Berlyn tried to step on America's toes. Yeah. At Fall Brawl, Berlyn isn't just fighting Bagwell, he's fighting the whole country. And this would all be fine and dandy if Buff didn't decide to throw his toys out of the pram by refusing to work the match, but we'll talk about that in the Fall Brawl video. Not only is Val Venis picked a fight with Steve Blackman after Sensei destroyed him on SmackDown, he also picks a fight with The Big Show after he made fun of Show's wee worm in the restroom. This was all picked up by GTV. Venis calls Show out, Undertaker tells Big Show to pick up his Punk card, Show goes to the ring, and Venis was completely outmatched here. He had a few moments on offense, but it wasn't nearly enough to do any kind of substantial damage. In the end, Val goes for a crossbody, but Jan catches him in midair and we see a huge chokeslam. The Big Show wins via pinfall, and the lesson here is to never say Big Show has a small dick. Steve Blackman then shows up to attack Venis once again, just because he can, so it's a bad night for Val Venis too, not great. Blackman vs Venis is scheduled to take place at Unforgiven. After the match, the Dudley Boys get interviewed by the Red Rooster. Bubba says the Dudleys are 8-time tag team champions while the Acolytes ain't shit, and Devon was just about to give his 3 commandments, but the Dudleys get attacked by Bradshaw and Farouk. Bradshaw meets Bubba Ray Dudley this week on SmackDown one-on-one, so again, tune in next week and we'll see what happens. We've also got a short interview with the big meaty man. He says his real name is Sean Stasiak. His dad's a former WWF champion. The Main Street Posse decide to interrupt Sean, and the 3 of them beat some meat while Michael Cole runs away in disgust. I do wonder who put the Posse up to this. Howard Finkel stopped Lillian Garcia from announcing the next Raw match. The Fink's the best ring announcer in the world. He's announced every WrestleMania. Lillian needs to take a seat and watch how it's supposed to be done because she's not in the Fink's league. Lillian says, alright, do what you want, and when Howard begins announcing the next competitor to the ring, he begins to panic. It's Ken Shamrock. Shamrock chases Fink out of the ring, and when he catches him, the Y2J countdown begins. Ken lets go of Finkel as Jericho says the WWF isn't a pretend fake sport like the Ultimate Fighting Championships. This is real competition, and Chris Jericho is the real world's most dangerous man. Chris once again says he'll meet Shamrock face to face on SmackDown, and once again Shamrock dashes up the rampway because he really likes doing it. Next on Raw, we've got a Triple H promo while WCW presents a 6-man cruiserweight match. Thank God for that. Juventud Guerrera must have forgot his ring gear again because he's out here looking exactly like Billy Kidman for no reason at all. It's Juvi, Psychosis and Blitzkrieg versus Billy Kidman, Eddie and Chavo Guerrero. So tonight Chavo's an honorary filthy animal.
He's an animal!
An animal! An animal!
Latino Heat got singled out at the beginning of this tag match, and Team Juvi are working way better together than the babyface team. Eddie gets beaten up in the corner, but he is able to tag out after his always impressive springboard head scissor arm drag combo, and we then see some tandem offense from Kidman and Chavo, including a double drop kick. We see some good teamwork from the Filthy Animals with Kidman's slingshot leg drop followed by Eddie's slingshot senton, and then Juvi comes in to fight with Kidman while the commentators act like it's difficult to tell these two apart. By the looks of things, Kidman doesn't like Juventud stealing his signature look. The jorts and wife beater combos reserved for BK only, and Kidman worked really hard on perfecting this wrestling attire. We see a Doomsday dropkick from Team Hoovy that looks pretty damn great, and Blitzkrieg comes in with his handspring back elbow. Kidman replies with his signature jumping clothesline, and Hoovy comes back in to take a BK bomb. Vampiro and the Insane Clown Posse are seen once again standing at the entranceway as the match begins to break down. But inside the ring, the guys do not slow down for a second as Blitzkrieg and Chavo perform dives to the outside. Our match ends with a Billy Kidman facebuster followed by a frog splash from Eddie Guerrero. A predictable outcome, but a fantastic match right here on Monday Nitro. As Triple H and Chyna make their way down to the ring, Jim Ross says Stone Cold Steve Austin's going to be on SmackDown this week, meaning he won't be making an appearance tonight on Raw. Hunter reminds everyone that he's the game, he's the WWF champion. He destroyed everyone in his path, including Steve Austin, Mankind, and The Rock. Hunter's resume speaks volumes, so Linda McMahon, the woman who made Hunter's life difficult on SmackDown, she should keep her normal sized nose out of Triple H's business. Hunter's old teammate Billy Gunn shows up and he says there's no one that knows Triple H better than Mr. Ass. The only reason Billy was brought into DX was so Hunter could easily avoid any confrontation with him. Triple H is nothing but an asshole, and Billy Gunn knows a thing or two about assholes. Helmsley isn't happy with Billy running his mouth, so tonight Triple H is going to give him a shot at the WWF Championship. Triple H will bring the belt while Billy can bring the balls, if he's got any. Gunn says he's got 2 words for Triple H, so I guess that means we've got our Raw main event. It's kind of funny how Billy's going through so much trouble trying to get an Intercontinental title match, and here on Raw he's just given a WWF title match without much resistance.
Have you ever had sex? I haven't felt great. It felt so good when I did it with my penis. A girl let me do it. It literally just happened. Having sex can make a nice man out the meanest. Oh, hey.
The Mean Street Posse take on the Stooges and Test next on Raw. On Nitro, it's Kendall Windham versus Shane Douglas and Barry Windham versus Jerry Flynn. It looks like Terry Runnels is now managing the Mean Street Posse, and that explains why the boys were beating Mead earlier on. Terry says anyone would want to be with well-schooled, intelligent, classy men, and she's absolutely right. The Mean Street Posse are fine examples of the human race. The Posse beat the hell out of Patterson and Briscoe, and the pop for Test's late entrance is both surprising and good to see. The fans are digging Big Andy, so there's definitely a lot of potential here. He shows amazing strength with his gut-wrench powerbomb to Joey Abs. He then clears out the ring until only he and Rodney remain. Rodders takes a powerbomb and he lands right on his rear end with a lot of impact. And this is enough to make our Mean Street hero leave the ring. Stasiak then shows up to attack Rodney before throwing him back in the ring. If they're trying to make Shawn a babyface, then good luck with that. I just don't see it working anytime soon. Rodney takes the pump-handled slam, the Posse get held back by Patterson and Briscoe, Test wins via pinfall, and consider me extremely pissed off. The Mean Street Posse deserved the win. On Nitro, we have the first 2 matches that came from the Battle Royal earlier on, and it's truly baffling to me that WCW thought fans would want to see Kendall and Barry Windham matches during the final hour of Nitro. It's also baffling that they've got the Tag Team Championships, and no disrespect either. Barry Windham in particular was one hell of a wrestler, and just go back and watch his mid to late 80s stuff in Jim Crockett Promotions if you don't believe me. But this is not what fans of this era wanted to see. Kendall's a complete charisma vacuum, and he's nowhere near as good as his brother. I mean, look at this. Come on, man. Some terrible work in the production truck made viewers miss the end of this Kendall vs Douglas match. Kurt Hennig ran down and Harlem Heat showed up to even the odds. We then go to a split screen where we see the Revolution watching the bout backstage, and we then see Douglas just winning the match via pinfall. The replay shows us that Stevie Ray used his slapjack on Kendall and Douglas won with the Pittsburgh Plunge. Before Brother Barry's match, Tony Schiavone promoted the new WCW Mayhem videotape. Yeah, that's not confusing at all, is it? There's a video game named Mayhem, a videotape named Mayhem, and soon there's going to be a pay-per-view named Mayhem, all of which have nothing in common except sharing the exact same logo. Barry Windham vs Butthead was even shorter than Kendall's match. Curly Bill came out with Barry, so I guess he's now officially part of the group. He proved his worth by stopping an attack from Jimmy Hart before clocking Flynn with Barry's tag team belt. Windham was then able to pick up a win following a DDT. Bad matches all around here from Monday Nitro. Next on Raw, we've got the Hardy Boyz taking on the Holly Cousins, while over on Nitro, Berlyn cuts a promo. For the first time ever, Crash comes to the ring holding his scales, and these are quite important because certain weight qualifications are necessary if you want to wrestle the Holly Cousins. Hardcore and Crash only want to wrestle super heavyweights, and before weighing the Hardy Boyz, Bob calls Matt Anorexic Andy and he calls Jeff Karen Carpenter. Making light of serious illnesses is never funny, I think, and Karen Carpenter's such a boomer joke even for 1999. He then calls Gangrel a fat bastard, yet he too doesn't meet the weight requirements, so Jeff Hardy gets fed up and the match begins with a missile dropkick. The Hardy Boyz perform poetry in motion followed by a hard clothesline from Matt. Matt then performs a second rope leg drop, and from here Crash gets singled out while his cousin begs for a tag. The teamwork from Matt and Jeff's pretty extraordinary, and you can tell these two have wrestled together all their lives. They know what each other's thinking throughout each moment of the match. Crash takes a beating here and he really needs to tag out. A Matt Hardy chinlock puts Little Crash in a bad spot, but out of nowhere the Little Holly pulls off a nice corner reversal and he drop kicks Matt out of the air before tagging in Hardcore. Bombastic Bob fires up and Jeff gets planted with a power slam. The Hardys end up double teaming him though, and we see the Swanton Bomb from Jeff. Crash then recovers and he runs over to help his partner, and Hardcore Holly wins the match with a Falcon Arrow. The lights go out after the match and young Crash takes a bloodbath. Hardcore thinks it's funny, so Crash smacks his cousin and the two have a fight. Again, I do enjoy the rough relationship these two have with each other. After the match, Fabulous Biker Undertaker tells Michael Cole to be gone and stay gone. The Deadman then announces that he and Big Show are exercising their right for a tag team title rematch, and this won't be any regular match. No, it's a buried alive match, and it's going to take place this week on SmackDown. Big Show thought Undertaker said burrowed alive, and he wonders how Mick Foley can compete seeing as his head's already burrowed up the Rock's ass, and Undertaker was like, haha, you're funny mate. On Nitro, Berlyn still refusing to speak English. As a matter of fact, he thinks all these Americans in attendance should learn German, and this of course gets around a booze. The strength of Germany comes from its people, its culture, and its mentality. Berlyn's a master of the German machine, and that's his source of power. He's totally lying, by the way, because we all know the source of his power is giant German sausage. At Fall Brawl, Berlyn will destroy Buff Bagwell along with the American myth of greatness, and Berlyn will prove that America is no longer a world leader. Tell you what, America, you've got Buff Bagwell representing you at Fall Brawl as it currently stands. I wish you the best of luck. Uda says that losing is unacceptable, but she didn't say it with the same vigour as last week.
It is unacceptable!
Okay.
And who's this guy right here? Do you think he might become a pro wrestler soon? Avatar returns to Raw next, while Nitro presents Perry Saturn vs Hugh Morris. So Al Snow comes out in his old Avatar gimmick, and if you go back to episode 7 of Reliving the War, you can see Avatar in action. His debut match was absolutely terrible.
Do not fear, citizens. Avatar is here.
Avatar's here to protect WWF from evil, from bad doers, and from giant nuclear monsters spawned in Japan. No mate, that's Steve Blackman's job. Al's completely lost it since devouring his little dog. He takes the mask off, he wonders what he's doing and where he's at. He says last time they made him wear this gear, they could have stuck a magnet up his ass, dragged him through Fort Knox, and he still wouldn't have drawn any money. Absolutely incredible line right here. Al thinks he's having a bad dream, he feels himself losing it, he starts barking like a dog, so the spirit of Pepper must be rising from his stomach and into his broken brain. He dashes to the commentary table, he starts scribbling on JR's legal pad while still barking like a dog, and the poor guy runs back up the ramp completely lost and completely confused. The Rock can't believe the Unholy Alliance challenged the Great One to a match on his show this week. He then gives his best Big Show and Undertaker impressions.
Die, 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 and all that stupid crap.
Rock says when you live by the dirt, you die by the shovel, and that means the Undertaker's getting a shovel stuck up his candy ass. Mankind's a little more serious when he says this isn't about championship belts and it's all about pride. But he too gives his best Big Show impression, and gotta say, he's pretty spot on.
Think about that and try to rest in peace.
GTV then spies on Mariana. She's crying to someone on the phone saying she needs help getting through to Chaz. Apparently, whoever she's talking to is the only person Mariana can depend on, so we'll see how this unfolds next week on Raw. On Nitro, Perry Saturn vs Hugh Morris is probably the best runner-up match from our Battle Royal earlier on, but that doesn't mean I really want to sit and watch it. Surprisingly though, there's no interference here except from Jimmy Hart, so at least we get to see a full match with no bollocks from the First Family or the Revolution. Morris misses a sit-down splash and Perry counters with a nice springboard sidekick. Morris has to take a timeout and he struggles to get going again when the match resumes, though a little assistance from Jimmy Hart puts the big man back in control. Morris hits a top rope elbow drop and he says Perry's done for. He then brings Perry over for a choke at the ring ropes and Jimmy Hart lends a hand even though he didn't really need to. The crowd are now getting restless and you can hear faint boring chants as Morris brings it down to the mat, but they do wake up a bit when Morris misses a top rope splash. Saturn pulls off a German suplex, a fantastic springboard forearm and an exploder suplex before signaling for the Death Valley driver, but Jimmy Hart gets on the apron and again Morris takes advantage. The big man then goes for the no laughing matter but he misses it, and Perry wins the match by locking in the rings of Saturn. We haven't seen this move in quite some time and I'm glad to see it return. It's a good finish. This, along with the 6-man cruiserweight match, were the best matches on Nitro so far. Goes to show that sometimes you need to give these random matches a chance no matter how bad they look on paper. Steve Blackman takes on D'Lo next on Raw, while Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko fight for a shot at the World Heavyweight title. Mark Henry comes out to watch this match from the commentary table. Steve performs a dropkick, but D'Lo swats away a second before connecting with a leg drop. Mark Henry says D'Lo would never have survived in WWF if it wasn't for him, and this is when D'Lo gets distracted and Steve pulls off a standing sidekick that sends his opponent to the Shadow Realm. We then see a motherfucking chinlock that fills my heart with joy, but D'Lo comes back with a sky high that fills my heart with darkness. He's way too distracted by Mark Henry though, and Steve takes this opportunity to dig into his little bag of toys. That no good son of a gun Val Venis then shows up to hit Blackman with a kendo stick. What kind of man attacks another man who's completely unprepared like this? This is just wrong on so many levels, and Steve Blackman didn't deserve this. Val runs away with Blackman's weapon bag, D'Lo wins with a lowdown. I am absolutely disgusted by this tainted victory, and so's Mark Henry. D'Lo gets smacked with a European belt, he gets thrown off the top rope before taking a gorilla press slam. These two are scheduled to face each other at Unforgiven, so D'Lo will get a chance at revenge very soon. Right, over on Nitro, wouldn't it be funny if this match ended with a run-in after that Battle Royal earlier on? Like, would it mean everything was a giant waste of time, everyone fought for nothing, and the premise of this whole episode of Nitro becomes something we can laugh at as WCW continue to go down the toilet? Surely they wouldn't do such a thing, would they? Yep, they did it. After a couple of minutes of admittedly good action, Sid Vicious walked down to the ring and he tried to powerbomb Benoit. Malenko saved his buddy and that meant Dean was on the receiving end of a powerbomb. Benoit manages to throw Sid out of the ring and Schiavone says this match must continue on, but the competitors decide not to wrestle and that's how it ends. Hilarious that Benoit was just saying there's guys in the back not getting a break, and when the carrot gets dangled, it gets taken away, munched and spat out again by Big Sid Vicious. An absolute fucking travesty right here, and as mentioned, it makes the whole Battle Royal completely pointless, worthless, and a waste of everyone's time. Before the Raw main event, the WWF presented a hardcore women's championship match, Ivory vs Tori, and unfortunately I can't show much of it here on YouTube because it was nothing more than a reason for the WWF to show some skin, and it's actually quite shameless when looking back. Normally I wouldn't care about this kind of stuff, but it's pretty much all ass cheeks and I don't want the video getting removed or restricted, so yeah, sorry about that. The two fought all over the backstage area and even into the men's dressing room. It ends with Ivory smashing a mirror over Tori's head, and after winning the match, the women's champ pushed a hot iron into Tori's back. In fairness, Tori sold it brilliantly with a scream you'd hear in a gory horror movie. With that out of the way, let's check out our main events. Triple H vs Billy Gunn on Raw, Hogan, Sting and Goldberg vs DDP, Sid and Rick Steiner on Nitro. Chyna gets sent to the back by Earl Hebner and she tries to create a distraction when Billy makes his entrance. Gunn's able to quickly turn it around and Hunter gets his head smashed into the ring steps. Back in the ring, we think Billy's losing momentum after a facebreaker knee smash, but he answers right away with a power slam. Triple H performs the Harley Race knee before the two brawl on the outside. Badass ends up throwing a forearm into the ring post, and from here, it's all Triple H. The champion smacks Billy's head off the commentary table, and back in the ring, Hunter focuses on the injured body part with a jumping arm breaker. The game then applies a modified armbar, but Billy won't give up. It goes to the corner where the two trade right hands. Billy gets the better of the champion and he's able to deliver a jackhammer, but then the boy wonder Shane McMahon shows up and this can't be good, can it? Officials run down to keep Shane away from the ring, including the match official Earl Hebner. This allows Triple H to bring his WWF belt into the ring, but Billy dodges the attack and it's Hunter who gets clocked. Earl Hebner's still dealing with Shane though, and he's way too late making it back inside the ropes. Billy's irate, he almost won the belt. He argues with the referee, and this leads to Earl taking a bump in the corner. Billy then delivers a famouser to Triple H, but there's no referee to count the pinfall. Both men get up, Triple H goes for a pedigree, Billy counters with a low blow, and we get Earl's signature slow 3 count, but Triple H kicks out at 2. Hunter goes upstairs and he misses his aerial attack. Billy then misses a stinger splash. Triple H is then able to hit the pedigree, and the champion retains in the Raw main event. The fans would have went crazy if Billy won here, but I don't think anyone really thought Mr. Ass was winning the championship tonight. As Triple H celebrates his victory, the lights go out in the arena and a wounded Kane makes his way down to the ring. And to set up this week's episode of Smackdown, Kane delivers chokeslams to Chyna, Triple H and Shane McMahon. A decent enough main event here, but nothing to get excited about. You can skip this one and not really miss much. On Nitro, Hulk Hogan makes the mistake of getting inside the cage before his partners show up. Goldberg comes out moments later, but Sting must have had a change of heart because the Icon doesn't make an appearance. The Jersey Triad try to keep Goldberg out of the cage while Sid, Steiner and DDP attack Hogan, but Goldberg eventually breaks through and the fight's on. Billy Boy completely destroys everything that moves, but he gets stopped momentarily by a diving clothesline from DDP. This allows Hogan to fire up a little and Hulkamania runs wild brother, but the numbers are too much and the babyfaces really need Sting. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. The Stinger finally shows up and Lex Luger's telling him not to go down there. That Hulk Hogan chap can't be trusted, but Sting says he needs to find out for himself. So he goes down, he gets in the cage, the crowd goes crazy. He hits Dallas with 2 Stinger splashes and the roof almost comes off the arena when Goldberg hits Rick Steiner with a spear. The ring's all clear for Hulk Hogan to deliver a big boot and a leg drop to DDP. Sid and Steiner have run away, so Hogan wins via pinfall and Sting doesn't seem too happy with his upcoming Fall Brawl opponent. As Page gets carried out of the ring, Lex Luger gets inside the ropes to ask his friend what the hell he's thinking. Sting shouldn't be so forgiving and Hulk Hogan's a no good, dirty, rotten, stinking hyena. Just before Nitro fades out, Sting smacks Luger, so it looks like the Stinger's turning his back on his best friend and he trusts Hulk Hogan. Raw wins Reliving the War, and you don't need me to explain why. It was a very easy decision this week, with WCW presenting a horrible go-home show before Fall Brawl later this week. The only storyline that has any relevance right now is with Hogan and Sting. The Sid Vicious stuff took a real bad turn this week. I do want to enjoy the Revolution's work, but they're in a meaningless feud with the First Family instead of, trying to start a revolution. Even the return of Bret Hart couldn't save this one. Raw's now on 107 points, Nitro's on 73, and we've got 20 ties on the board. In the TV ratings, Raw scored a 4.4, while Nitro scored a 4.1. Close call, but again, Raw didn't air in its usual time slot, freeing up some WWF fans to go over and check out Nitro. Fall Brawl 99 goes live on the channel this Sunday, so come over and we'll see if Hulk Hogan really can be trusted. The storyline takes a pretty significant turn at the pay-per-view and the main event has quite a surprising ending. Whether it's good or bad is up to you though. Then on Tuesday, come over again to the channel and we'll check out Smackdown. Triple H takes on Kane while defending his WWF title. The Holly Cousins issue another open challenge. Chris Jericho makes good on his promise when he comes face to face with Ken Shamrock. And of course, we also have the Buried Alive match. Thank you for watching Reliving the War, not only today, but for the last 4 years. You've all made it as jam-up guys in my book. I'll be right back with Fall Brawl and Smackdown, so I'll see you all again very soon. Take care.
we got no!
The stench in the Dungeon of Doom is not powerful enough to even make my little Hulkamaniacs shake in fear for one moment.
I am not a hillbilly, and I don't wear cheap suits. Now, questions, please.
Champion! The Giant is a new champion! We have a new World Heavyweight Champion! Straight up!
Surprise, surprise. Look what we have for Camp Cornette.
Psycho shit! You're looking at me!
Hollywood Hogan. Can we take a break?
Oh, no problem, man.
We gotta take a break.
Can't believe Billy left. He did the same thing to Bart. Now he's done it to Hunter.
I don't know what Sting is trying to prove here, but Dallas is not leaving the ring. I can say that for sure.
You know what really gets me is how the American fans can justify the ilk like you and people like Shawn Michaels. Just tells you right there that the World Wrestling Federation and the American wrestling fans are going straight down the toilet.
Kurt Hennig! My God, it's Kurt Hennig!
Could that be the Impact player?
Raven's over the steel guardrail! Raven is out as well!
Cut this, Jack! He's back! Somebody sniped me! I thought he was dead! He's alive! The thing that gets me madder than anything else is all those idiots out there with those Sting masks on.
The People's Champ, the best damn Intercontinental Champion there ever was, The Rock.
Watch them bleed. Hip-hop heads.
You do it like this.
Put it out for the world to see. LP and X-Men to the 10th degree.
Bret Hart with it! Bret Hart nails! Big Sexy! Can you believe this? Kenny misses that foot! Austin out there! The starter! Austin just paid the Undertaker!
If you're not in my foxhole, if you're not with the Wolfpack, buddy, you're in our sights. Why, Rock, why did you sell out? Well, actually, The Rock never sold out. The Rock just got ahead.
He tried to powerbomb him, but Goldberg fights back! He spears him! Goldberg spears him! He got him!
It's time that you come home. I'm Dave! I'm Dave, and the whole world is saying, I want to be like Dave! Not like Mike! I want to be like Dave! Tonight, woo! It's your night!
You and me, one-on-one for this. I'll bring the belt. You bring the balls, if you got any.
Got it! I knew it! I knew it!
You do it like this.
Put it out for the world to see. LP and X-Men to the 10th